Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another episode here on ESGNet of the Dallas Cowboys franchise. And this is the Cowboys Insider. We're going to take a quick look here and talk about what happened in the previous episode of the Dallas Cowboys, where the Cowboys played against the Falcons, and there you see the final score, 51-31 in Big D, as the Cowboys were in action and hosting this divisional playoff game here between these two teams. Of course, these two teams played before back in week 8, I believe, and it was a blowout, 48-17. Atlanta came alive in the second half. It was pretty close first half there. Wasn't for sure which side who was going to take it, as both teams were playing some pretty good defense. But then Atlanta kind of self-destructed there. They had a couple of sacks and, of course, a couple of interceptions thrown by Matt Ryan, and Cowboys took advantage of that in that game. Now, Dak Prescott did have an interception in that game, but in this week's game against them for the divisional game, of course, everything was on the table, as whoever won this game was going to move on to the NFC Championship game. They, of course, would either face I believe the Eagles or the Seahawks in the next round. So we'll take a look there. You see the injury reports there, and we'll show you guys some of the highlights of the game. Pretty much the scoring plays here. But for the most part here, as you take a look there, that was the score there last time when they played against each other. Okay, 47-16 there. So, okay, my bad. But there you see the numbers there from that game. Matt Ryan had a really good passing game, 451 yards, but had 3 interceptions that game. He threw 30, it was somewhere around 40% of completed passes there, and just had a really tough day there throwing. And the Cowboys did a good job there, putting some pressure on him. Julio Jones, who had just a marvelous day, but no touchdowns there for him. He had over 125 yards in that game with 7 catches there. Of course, the Cowboys secondary had a really tough time here, especially matching up against him. We were able towards the end of the game kind of put double coverage on him, but even then, still, I mean, it's Julio Jones. What do you expect? The guy's gonna do what he does best there. He's made some amazing catches. And we'll try to see, of course, we try to do that in this one here, in this game here today. So the game plan really was to make sure they don't get thrown down deep, make sure we keep the ball in front of us. Not to mention on our side of the ball, on offense, we need to make sure Dak has a clean sheet, make sure he is able to throw to his receivers when he can, and get down the field. Now, for the most part here, the Cowboys did a great job of marching down the field and doing what they needed to do there on the field for the most part there. There was a couple of, some good passing wise was great. We had a good throwing windows there. A couple times there, Dak had some tight windows there he threw to that he shouldn't have thrown to, but for the most part there, we were able to get there. And of course, our first drive was not as successful as we wanted to. We only scored 3 points, and later on we go on to see here, I think this is the third drive of the game. We're able to go into the end zone here with a nice run here from Zeke Elliott, who gets us on the board there, and that is going to put a 7-point lead now here, or I should say a 4-point lead. 7-point lead there for us there to make it 10-3. So then later on here, we'll see again another catch there in the end zone, that time by looks like Jason Witten there, who we're kind of questioning if he's going to return back here next season or not. Of course, in real life, he retired after the 2018 or after the 2017-2018 season. But there you see a nice run there from Freeman, who gets down the sidelines there and gets into the end zone with that nice 75-yard rush there. And that pretty much right there kind of got the Cowboys defense stepping up, saying, okay, this is going to be a ball game here. We're going to have a tight contest here. It may come down to whoever does a great job with their, with their running and the passing game. not to mention whoever has last possession. So whoever has the better possession will have the game. And as you see there, Zeke Elliott returns the favor there. He runs 70 yards for a nice, or 71 yards, I should say, for a nice rushing touchdown there. So he says, I can do the same thing. Just give me a hole here and I'll show you. So he didn't outrun him on one play from the line of scrimmage, but he definitely did have a great day there. You'll see the numbers here in just a bit. But I think for the most part here, the Cowboys just did. If you watch it, matter of fact, I'll leave a link here up there in the eye, where you guys, if you haven't seen the episode yet, check it out because it was a really good game. Let me see there. They come back and Freeman gets his second rushing touchdown of the day, putting them just down a possession there as a 24-17 ball game here in this one. So like I said, it was a tight ball game at first. Both teams' defense wasn't really out there for the most part there. But it came down to the second half, really, of who is going to have the better possession. Was the Falcons going to be able to stop the Cowboys in their first possession going down the field in the third quarter? If you follow this series, or any of my football series, for some reason, starting the second half off is always the weirdest, the oddest thing. Oddest, that's not really a word, is it? The weird or odd thing that happens third quarter for some reason. That first drive there is just doesn't work out for us that well. So, but it's a 24-17 game after the first half here. Take a look at the run here. This is a big run from Bird there. He takes this one down the field. He says, you know what, both of you, I can make a big run here too. And he does, as the rookie gets down the field there. Great blocking and a great tough run there from Bird, who I believe got a 71, 74, or maybe, it was a 70 or 71 yard run there from him. So he was able to get down the field. So they made a 2-possession lead there. And then we'll see here again. We'll see this time it's going to be through the air as Julio Jones just go up there, snags it out of the air, takes it down the field, and nobody is there to stop him. As you see there, get themselves back in the game there with a 59-yard touchdown to get this one back into the game. And the Cowboys take the victory, or take the still have the lead here, but now slim down to just a single possession. So Falcons definitely going to try to stay in this one, because you remember last time they played here in Dallas, it was not a good one for them in the second half there. They had a lot of miscues. There was a couple of interceptions, a fumble, and not to mention Matt Ryan just had a lot of pressure coming at him at different angles there. I know at the start of this one they had 2 sacks on the second and third down there. That pushed him back, and that was from DeMarcus Lawrence there, who did a great job applying that pressure on. Now here, there's a 10-point difference between these two teams, and again, Julio Jones in the end zone once again, gets that one in there, and now it's just down to a single field goal between these two teams. So Cowboys get down the field here on the next drive, matter of fact here, and decide that they are going to try to get this one in the end zone here. As we'll see, it's a 3rd and goal here. Ball on the 4, and we'll see Zeke here. Zips that one right there to Beasley, who makes a nice catch behind the back. Matter of fact, there toward the back end of him, comes back and snags that one and gets a catch. And with Beasley, if you followed this series from the very beginning, we've always had trouble with him making catches, especially in the end zone, because he will get tattooed real hard. He's not a big guy at all. He's a small receiver. But he's also one of those receivers that he's small enough where you can miss him, the defense can miss track of him, and you can zip one in there and he can make a big play from just that kind of a short field there. So we'll see here. It's 44-31 now. As we'll see there, it's going to be a caught, and that one is going to be from Hitchens there. Anthony Hitchens, the big linebacker here, is going to take this one back, and this pretty much seals the deal for the game here, as the Cowboys will move on and punch their ticket now here, as they will host the Seattle Seahawks coming up in the next game, coming up in the NFC Championship game, as the Cowboys get that big interception here, taking this one back for a pick 6. And if you remember, back in that game with Atlanta in the regular season. This sort of thing happened at about the same chance here. I really capped it off there and just kind of ended their took the wind right out of their sails there and just pretty much ended the game not on a good note there for them. Even though they got beat 47-16, still a tough day, still a tough mountain to climb there, and that's what happened in this one as they lose this one by 20 as the Cowboys will move on now and host Russell Wilson and the Seahawks coming up here in that game. We'll talk more about the Seahawks coming up here in just a bit. We'll have a game plan of theirs for them coming up here in just a bit. But take a look at the numbers here. Matt Ryan, 35 of 46, 484 yards, 76% of his passes were completed, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Prescott, 21 of 31. There you see with 258 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, and 2 sacks put on him. But a great day because he did not throw any picks there, even though he was throwing, trying to thread the needle quite a bit there. He came close to it. There was one time in the game that he came close to an interception, but it was batted away. As for rushing, 13 carries, 131 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns for Zeke Elliott. Bird, 6 carries, 93 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, 3 broken tackles. Darren McFadden, 12 carries, 44 yards, and 2 broken tackles for him. Top receivers, got Terrence Williams, who was just clutch for us in this game. 5 receptions, 109 yards. Jason Witten, 5 receptions, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. Cole Beasley, 2 receptions, 15 yards, and a touchdown there for him. As for the Atlanta Falcons, Sano and I believe Julio Jones both had over 100 yards in that game. Sano didn't have any touchdowns, but he did have 5 catches for 108 yards there for him. Julio Jones, I think, came close to, if not 200 yards or more, with two receiving touchdowns there for him that we've seen in those highlights there. And he had a great day there. He's just one of those beasts that, I mean, if you don't put him in a cage and lock him up and pour concrete and whatever else on it, he's a tough guy to stop. So we knew that going into this game, but I mean, with everything we try to throw at him, and there was times too that they did a great job of kind of him in the wolf in sheep's clothing. They had him set up where they had us focus so much on the running game, and and also the quick throw, the screen game from Freeman, that there was when they opportunity to take chance, they took it and they went down the field there. So that was tough for us. They're trying to shift from one thing to another. Skandrick, of course, our rookie Wyatt, Nischek, and I believe I forgot who the other gentleman it was. Also got DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah, 2 sacks. The other 2 gentlemen I named already had 1 each. And then you see the interceptions there. Hitchens, that big interception right there that took it back for a pick 6. Really did a job there for us. And I was really glad to see the big man going in there from Iowa, 4-year guy, going in for a touchdown there on that one. So the big game everybody's going to be talking about here in the NFC is the NFC Championship game here in the NFL, and that is going to be at AT&T, and we'll be hosting the 11-5 Seattle Seahawks. Now, last time we played the Seahawks was just a couple weeks ago. It wasn't that far long ago. I think it was, I want to say it was week 15 or 16 that we played them, and I believe it was in Seattle when we played them. And that one, well, what can we say about playing Seattle? Seattle's one of those, it's just another tough teams there that we just have a tough time with, and that we have to just deal what we have with them. Great defensive team. The defense of doom. You got Cam Chandler and Sherman there. We'll talk about them here in just a bit. But take a look at your Week 19 guys, and there you see Wagner, one of those guys that we have to definitely watch out for. Who will, I think the last game we played against them in that Seattle game, Wagner had an interception on us there. But there you see the numbers there for both the games. I believe in the AFC, it'll be the Patriots and the Steelers. So that should be a fun game to watch. Tom Brady going against Big Ben in that matchup. And there you see some of the news there about those big games coming up here. And of course, Broncos coming up short in that game against the Steelers there. Some big news there. You guys can pause the video and check those out. But take a look here at the divisional games there. You see Patriots won 37-31 against Tennessee. Close game there. And then you see the Steelers Broncos 52-13. Broncos just get dominated in that one. And then Seahawks beat Carolina. That's a classic rivalry right there. 38-17. Take a look at the numbers here in this one. Russell Wilson, 247 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions in that one, and he was sacked once. So you see 73% of passes were complete there. We're hoping that we can have him have the same type of game by just trying to contain him. That's pretty much all we can do, is keep a spy on him and just keep him in the pocket as much as possible. Force him to throw, not let him run around, because if we force him to throw, it means we can spread out some, get our linebackers involved in there, and also too, occasionally just get our defensive line there, like Lawrence and Collins and all those guys there, to get in there and just really rough up that offensive line. Their offensive line, at least what I've seen, has kind of been beat up this season for the Seahawks there. So I'm really hoping that we can take advantage of that and just try to penetrate that offensive line, because I think I mentioned in the Falcons series, we had a hard time, even though we got a couple of sacks off of Matt Ryan. For the most part, it was really tough trying to penetrate the offensive line there if we didn't have a design blitz already set up, just coming right at them. For whatever reason, they just could not. They just were like a brick wall. We just could not knock them down. So we had to throw a lot of blitzes at them and all different angles there. So, and of course, there you see the numbers there defensively there, and just pretty much Seattle had a good game there. Of course, they were, I believe, hosting that game there, so had a bit of a home field advantage there, help from the 12th man there, and now they'll have to come to Dallas to deal with us in our matchup with them. And it was week 15 now, as I'm looking at the some of the scoring here for my score sheet here. It was a week 15 game there, so we'll see how that goes here. But yeah, there you see 35-30 was the game. That's now why I can remember it, because it was a close game there, and Seahawks almost walked out of there, and they're at the arena, their stadium there with a win, but we were able to hold them back and keep the game where it's at. There you see penalty yards there. We got hit pretty hard there. Penalty yards, 53 yards there totally. But as for the game, 23 of 34, 237 yards and 3 touchdowns and 3 sacks on Dak Prescott. He had a pretty good game, but just the idea of that defense, we didn't get picked off by Sherman or Cam, but just the pressure that we got from them just was, something that we just not many teams can handle. 28 carries for 151 yards. 1 rushing touchdown there for Zeke Elliott, so they could not contain him, but at the same time, they did give up a rushing touchdown, but also too, they gave up a touchdown there, and they could not really hold on to Bird. He has 6 carries for 51 yards, and you see some of the numbers there. We will have to watch out for their backup, not just their starting wide or running back Rawls, but Percival, whatever his name is. He's definitely a quick runner. He can jet right out of the backfield there if you do not, when you don't notice him on the field. And then you see Jimmy Graham, who we kept pretty silent there, especially in the red zone there. 4 receptions, 27 yards there. And there you see all the rest of the numbers there for that game. Really surprised we were able to keep Jimmy Graham quiet. I don't think this time around that'll be a different story. I know they threw him to a couple times there in the red zone. Open field, he had a couple good catches there, as you've seen. But in the red zone, they just could not, for whatever reason, they chose not to throw to him, or when they did, we were able to shut it down. But I think with that being the case from last time, I think we may end up seeing Jimmy Graham a little bit more. Just looking at some of the tape from that game against Carolina, I think that will be a key guy that will be pretty dominant in that game here against us here, because he was pretty much a no-show in the game last time playing in Seattle. There in Seattle, so we'll have to make sure we can keep him in check. And then defensively, you see a lot of the guys there, guys like Cam, Chandler, Sherman, Wagner, Anvil, who had a tough game against us. He was coming right at us at the last second there, almost getting on to us about that. I think he did get, two to three sacks in that game were from him. So we definitely got to try to avoid him as much as we possibly can. Justin Britt, now as we go into now talking more about the Seahawks here, we'll see that he has a pulled groin. He'll be out for 2 weeks here, so he's their starter center. So that's about the only thing that is for them that's they're hurting in. So they don't have their starter. But with that being said, I mean they're still the Seattle Seahawks are still a dangerous team with or without their centers here. So they got all their key guys healthy and ready to go, and we'll see exactly what we need to do in that situation here as we'll get ready to take a look at our game plan that we have here. And I think the game plan will be the same way as we had before. Just kind of keep control of Russell. Let's take a look here. Offensively, our game plan is to just kind of work on, they say deep passing, but I'm going to say probably the medium range passing. Now, if we do have a chance to go deep, throw deep, we're going to make sure it's not a matchup with Sherman. Of course, that means Sherman's going to be keying on Dez Bryant. So we're going to try to keep our other receivers open. We're going to try to get maybe Terrence Williams, who's been doing a really great job for us, being clutch, and especially that last game there. I think he'll get more catches thrown to him in this game. And then also too, got to get our big guy. This is going to be his last year with us. We got to get Jason Witten in the mix there a lot. Got to get him a lot of touches there too, and not to mention get the running game going there as early as possible. And just if we can get that running game going and cooking and going, and get down the field and really mess with their minds, then we can start throwing deep over them. When they're trying more, especially we have all three guys who did such a great job last time against Seattle's defensive line there. I think if we have that same kind of game, I think we will be able to throw deep. As for defensively, they're going to try to throw over on us. Of course, you got Richardson, you got Lawton. So you got a lot of different guys on that team that will go deep if they can. So we've got a cover one that we're going to set up in the pass defense here. Of course, the running game is, we can't eliminate that at all from Seattle. We got Russell Wilson. We have, of course, key guy we have to watch out for when it comes to run. If there's too much pressure and if there's a back door for him to get out of, he's going to get out of it. Rawls is another player there who's been kind of quiet here. He hasn't had big numbers in years past, but he's definitely one of those guys that will take off if need be, and he can get out of the backfield real quick. And of course, like I said, Prosa, their backup halfback there, will be another guy that we'll have to watch out for. Now, defensively, take a look here. Look at some of the defensive players that we have to watch out for and key on. Bobby Wagner, like I said, he had an interception against us last time, and he had a really good game. A pretty decent game against us. He had a couple of good tackles, and he was able to do some damage for Seattle in that game. He had 137 tackles for the season, 1 sack, and 4 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles for the whole season. Cam Chandler, you see 225 pounds, 8-year man from Virginia Tech, 89 tackles total for this season, a sack, 3 interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery this season. And again, he's one of those strong safeties that with him and Mr. Sherman out there in the deep part of the field, I don't know why they stand the deep game for us, but I'm not taking that chance there. So we're, like I said, medium range to screen passes, stuff like that, passing wise. We don't want to throw a bunch of interceptions. We don't want to make it a long day for Dak and the offensive line there. Sherman, of course, one was always a big threat there. 73 tackles, tackle for loss, 2 interceptions, and a forced fumble from him. As a 7-year man from Stanford is pretty much the bread and butter of that defense. Offensively, like I said, Jimmy Graham, I really think we're going to see a lot more of him, because last game he was pretty quiet and he did not do too much there, especially in the red zone. He was kind of lackadaisical, just kind of middle of the road in that last time we faced against them. So I really see a big, decent game coming out of him. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 10 catches, close to maybe 100 yards, and maybe even 1 touchdown there in that game. Thomas Rawls is another player there, 215, 25 years of age, 3-year man from Central Michigan. Again, another threat there in the backfield when it comes to the running game. And also, too, he's great, got good hands there, so the passing game may come up as a receiver if they happen to be down by a possession or two, and especially in the second half, we can see him coming out and be out there as a receiver. And then Russell Wilson, of course, always a deep threat there. Doesn't have, his deep accuracy is not the greatest, but when push comes to shove, if he can get out of the pocket and scramble and stay behind the line of scrimmage there and find an open man, he can go down the field. If not, well, he has wheels and he will use them, and he will use them a lot. So like I said, we're going to try to contain him as much as possible and try to keep him in check, and make sure we have get his, he's checking down stuff. Make sure we have a spy on him so he does not take off and get those first downs, especially those quick, short first downs there. We want the spy to be on him right on top of him, really, if we can be. There you see the matchups there. Steelers versus Patriots in that early game, and then of course the late game will be us. It'll be the Seahawks and the Cowboys. So that is it for this week in the Cowboys Insider. Stay tuned for the Dallas Cowboys playing in the NFC Championship game against the 11-5 Seattle Seahawks coming up here on the channel. So thank you guys so much. We're getting close to wrapping up this season and getting ready for Madden 19 with our new franchise and stuff. Hopefully we get that going here for really soon. But got to get done with these Cowboys first, see if we can get another ring and another championship to come to Dallas here on ESGNet. That's it for this episode, you guys. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more Dallas Cowboys franchise here on ESGNet. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Discord. Check us out there for the latest news and events on what's going on here on the channel, what's going on in the world of sports and in sports gaming. And as always, keep yourselves and each other healthy, and I will see you guys next time.